All right, welcome back to the Falcons Fanatic Podcast. The Falcons lose another one in a game I would love to forget against the Minnesota Vikings. They lose 42-21, and this is rock bottom. It has to be rock bottom. I hope it's rock bottom, as the Falcons have officially lost their first place in the NFC South that they've had the entire season, and there goes our, division lead in our division. We don't play Tampa Bay again. We don't control our own destiny at this point. We fall to 6-7. Kirk Cousins was absolutely atrocious in this game. No touchdowns once again, 4 straight weeks. You're going to see that a lot. 8 picks, 0 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, and 4 losses. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier once again combining to be awesome. Kirk Cousins, offensively they're not the issue. It's Kirk Cousins and his passing game. And look, we outgained the Minnesota Vikings. That's the thing. Kirk Cousins still threw for 344 yards. Darnell Mooney had 142. McLeod, 98. London was 70. The receivers aren't the issue. Blockers, mostly not the issue. Kirk Cousins is the issue, and that's the problem, is because last year our quarterback was the issue. Last year our coach was the issue. We can't... We fixed the quarterback position, everybody. And then we come back, and this is what we get. We get Kirk Cousins. Minnesota didn't want him anymore. They're better off without him. They'd rather have Sam Darnold, who's, both these quarterbacks are on my fantasy team, and one of them got the start, and his name's not Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold got the start, and he's been getting the start because he's a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. And guess what? We could have gotten Sam Darnold easily to be the starter for Penix if we wanted him to. And it's just, everything always seems to go wrong for us, right? It can never go the way it's supposed to go. We just find our ways to lose games when we lead with more yards, when we have more first downs, when we have more total plays. We find ways to lose games. And today, it was partly the turnover bug, which Kirk Cousins threw 2 picks, and there was a really bad fumble in our own red zone off of a kick by Ray McLeod, who outside of that had an amazing game. Finally, the screen passes were working for him, but we'll get to that later. And it was partly turnovers, and it was partly flags. And in the second half, the game was over. The flags weren't as big of an issue for me. In the first half, it was every single play with the flag. It was the one drive we went had a field goal where we got to the 2-yard line at the end of the second half. Outside of that, first drive, every single drive stopped a penalty. And a ton of them were holdings, and a ton of them were ticky-tack calls. And I remember saying at the beginning of the season, the Falcons are getting the Chiefs calls. Everybody knows the Chiefs get a different quality of call. The refs find a little thing. And for the Falcons, that call did not go their way, and that's fine. That's understandable. Look, I understand the refs have their own stuff to do and their own calls, but it was frustrating, and that's why I'm saying this. I don't have a vendetta against the refs. I just have to cover my own butt here. But I don't have a vendetta against the refs, especially. I understand it's a rough job, and if they keep doing something that you're calling, you're going to keep calling it, right? And it's against the rules, and you call it by the rule book. But sometimes they see things for one team more than they see things for another. And I know, part of the blame also goes to our team for not making those changes. But it's just frustrating. It really is. And I've had too much frustration in the last 4 weeks for me to be able to sit here and just take it. So I've dealt with it in many ways with these podcasts, but really it is just so frustrating. 4 for 4, the Vikings were in the red zone. Our defense was pretty solid in the first quarter. Somehow the issue isn't rushing the passer anymore. The Falcons, we had got a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold. He was able to evade a lot of our pressures, but we got some pressure, moved him off his spot. We had 4 sacks. That's a good amount of sacks for this Falcons defense. One from Caden Ellis, which he just bull rushed I think it was one of the running backs I think probably Cam Akers, and Caden Ellis just bull rushes him. And something I love, first of all, one of the positives from this game is that it was commentated by Greg Olson, and I think he's the best color commentator in the entire league. He's just he has good points to make, and he makes it, and he's clear about it, so that anybody can understand it. And he doesn't dumb down the game either, right? And I think that's really something that I commend about him, that a lot of color commentators just talk a lot of fluff, and they don't really add anything. Greg Olson adds a lot to the game, and one of the things he was saying is that with Caden Ellis, we like to blitz him a lot, and one thing you just can't do, you count Caden Ellis as a big. You can't put a little on a big, right? And you don't usually expect running backs to hold in pass protection against bigs. So you try to, if you are going to do that, you have the quarterback like, hey, you got to release this in 2 counts. You got to go boom, boom, throw. You cannot hold on to the ball here. But they let Sam Darnold hold on to it when Caden Ellis rushed, and he just bull rushed, grabbed him by the shoulder pads, ripped him down. Huge, huge sack. We had 2 sacks on their first possession to stall them out. It was Ebiketie actually finally beating a right tackle, which is something I don't think I've seen in a century. A coverage sack that Matt Judon got. And the other sack was Eddie Goldman through the middle. Just, once again, similar kind of coverage sack type situation. But pass rush wasn't the issue. Linebackers were fine. Yeah, I didn't love the game I saw from Nate Landman. I know I saw Troy Anderson miss a couple of tackles. I thought Caden Ellis was great as always. But other than Jesse Bates, this secondary, which is supposed to be our strength, just absolutely shat the bed today against the Vikings. Jordan Addison had 133 yards and 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson's had 132 and 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold threw for 22 for 28, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns. And it was a lot of just airing it out. It was a lot of, I bet Jordan Addison and I bet Justin Jefferson can beat whoever they got out on the outside. And a lot of the time it was Clark Phillips and it was Mike Hughes getting beat. I mean, we end up putting in Antonio Hamilton for a little bit, right? D. Alford is asked a lot more, but Clark Phillips is 5'8" and was getting beat in a foot race. He just got flat outran to the football by Jordan Addison. Like, that cannot happen if you're a 5'8" cornerback. That cannot happen. And Justin Simmons missed a couple of them. There was the one big play where I think it was Mike Hughes. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it was D. Alford. It was D. Alford, actually, who's got sent back up deep. Jesse Bates rotates down to cover the crosser, which fairly he does because it would have been a big pickup of 20 either way. Justin Simmons over-pursues to get a sack and lets Sam Darnold an escape lane. Sam Darnold escapes and just sees Jordan Addison down there, throws it. D. Alford, for some reason, thinks the ball's in the stands, flips his hips to the sideline with Jordan Addison to the inside of the field, and then falls on his ass. And he was expecting Jesse Bates to be there. I understand that. But I think, cover the guy, not the sideline. And there was a lot of times where he got beat, and even A.J. Terrell got beat a lot, especially when he was put on Justin Jefferson, because he can't guard number ones. Hawkinson with 45 yards, and it was just those 3 guys. And we couldn't guard any of them with our secondary. And it wasn't even the best game from Jesse Bates, I will say. And we didn't get any turnovers of our own, which we usually do get from our secondary. So we end up allowing 42 points because of explosive plays. And our offense is completely devoid of any offensive plays. Explosive plays. We had a couple of long bombs to Darnell Mooney, which were, I guess you could argue, explosive. Also, great catches by Darnell. Kirk Cousins making some decent throws. Ray McLeod on a couple of screens, a couple of crossers. Drake London on a bunch of crossers. Kyle Pitts on 1 throw. Charlie Warner on 1 throw. And Bijan Robinson. There was no explosion. It's all across the middle, and it's for short yardage. Tyler Algier, good to see him back. Good to see him getting some carries. Good to see him being effective. Because another thing that Greg Olsen said was, look, hey, the Vikings have these wide edges, and that's why they've been so successful against the run, because the league as a whole has gone on a trend of these long zone runs. Well, Vikings say, hey, let's just put these really, really wide edges, set the edge super wide, nobody can bounce it outside. And the Falcons say, hey, let me play some checkers here, and let me just ram it down the middle with our really strong guy. If you have these really wide edges, your edges can't get there, really spread out your D tackles, and Tyler Algier was 7 a carry. Bijan, as always, 4 a carry, but he kind of got stifled by their wide edges. And yeah, I love what I hear from Greg Olsen. But as a whole, this Falcons team, another positive coup, made both his field goals. Pinion punted. Avery Williams continues to be one of the worst punt returners in the league. And I guess it's not better with Ray McLeod because he's going to fumble the football, which basically lost us the football game. We are down by a touchdown. He fumbles, down by 2 scores now. And there were just so many plays that didn't go our way. And I saw something on Twitter a couple of days ago where the Falcons are the most unlucky team in the NFL. And honestly, I feel that. I really do. And I saw another thing was, it was talking about, you don't know pain, like that type of Twitter post. And it was, you don't know pain. And then somebody quote tweeted that with a photo of the Falcons' last 7 years. And I hate to admit it, but we might be cruising to another 7-10 season. And it's actually killing me to say this, killing me to witness this. 4 straight losses. We were 6-3, top of the world. And all of a sudden, we crash right back down to reality, as we seemingly always do. If we lose to the Commanders, and we lose to maybe the Raiders, I mean, realistically, we finish win, loss, win. Probably what's going to happen. We do have a nice primetime game against the Raiders where maybe we can turn some things around, but honestly, I wouldn't bet on it. We will see our good old friend Desmond Ridder as the starting quarterback in Las Vegas. Oh my God, that would actually kill me if we lose to Desmond Ridder on primetime. I might. Who knows what I'll do. And I think I'm going to finish off this podcast. You know, we got Raiders, Giants, Commanders, Panthers. Probably going to lose Commanders. Giants, Raiders, Panthers. Hopefully we get a win this season. Hopefully not 7-10. Hopefully it's looking like 8-9. Or 9-8, sorry. It's looking at like 9-8, and we just have to hope Tampa Bay loses to the Chargers or the Cowboys or the Saints. But the Falcons, we have to take care of our own business, and that's for damn sure. But we still have a shot here. But I will be very upset anyway if we lose to Desmond Ridder and the Raiders. And that's basically our season if we do. So do or die, guys. Do or die time. Anyway, I want to end this episode just talking about Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix and just the situation we are in with our quarterbacks, because I don't think, even though Kirk Cousins, after Kirktober, has been probably the worst quarterback in the NFL. He's missed so many wide open receivers, inaccurate balls, forcing balls where it shouldn't be. He's come clearly out of his funk, but he's still throwing for 300 yards. It's kind of crazy because he has it, and he doesn't have it anymore. And he makes a horrible throw, and it gets picked off. And he has it. He's cooking. Nope. Loses focus. Incompletion, loses focus, turnover on downs, loses focus, interception. So, the choice is now Michael Penix. He's been developing behind Kirk Cousins. Apparently, he's been tearing it up in practice. But we can't. The whole plan was the earliest we can implement Kirk Cousins as our starting quarterback is halfway through next season. Because the way that Kirk Cousins' contract is set up is we can cut him after 2 years. So we can get a lot of this dead cap goes away after 2 years. And so we can sort of say halfway through next year, hey, bye-bye, Cousins. We understand we're parting ways. And we cut him, and that's that. And we sort of separate him from the team for the second half of the year. But we can't do it now. That just creates a huge, huge controversy that looms over the entire team, and it will not work. And it will not work, and it's not good for Penix's development. It really... That's not the way that it can happen. Kirk has to stay the quarterback for as long as we have a playoff hope. He has to stay the quarterback until then. That's the only way that this works this season, and realistically, that's the only way it works with Penix going in the future. But we are just in a tricky, sticky situation. We have to win at least 3 of our next 4. Which, with a team that has not looked like winning anything, we have to win 3 of our next 4, and we have to hope the Buccaneers drop a game. If so, we can find our way into the playoffs. But it will not be pretty, and everybody's going to be eyeing Michael Penix for next season, and nobody is going to be happy with the roster and the squad, and it's going to be another sad season in Atlanta. But at least it won't be 7-10, hopefully. Although, I was saying the same thing last year. When we were 6-7, we're not going to lose 3 of our last 4. These things can happen, and for the Falcons, it has happened. So, yeah, I think it's important to understand the history of this as well. Don't take anything for granted with this Falcons team. Be happy when you can, because it's few and far between, and take what you can out of what you got. All right, so it's rough. It's going to be rough. This is a good Vikings team. This is a good Vikings defense. This is a good Vikings offense. We're probably not going to win this game. I just hate ourselves for putting ourselves in this situation by losing the Saints game and by losing the Chargers game. And realistically, we could have won this one too without the turnovers, without the penalties, because we outgained them on offense. Either way, that's going to be the Falcons Fanatic podcast for this week. I appreciate you guys for listening. I'll see you guys against the Raiders. Take some time off. Feel better. Hopefully we go 3-1. Buccaneers lose a game. We find our way into the playoffs. And everybody is convinced of Kirk again. But it's not looking good for this Falcons team, as it always isn't. Anyway, thank you for listening. Follow me if you want. I'm not your boss. You can do whatever you want. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.